Alrighty, let's get into this, shall we? Wait, excuse me. Big stretch. Alrighty, yeah. I'm thinking, as it's been pointed out, kind of indirectly, enough is enough now. I think we need to call it a day. We don't call it what it is. An end to this process, irrespective of where we are within the whole political field of it all. So based on the last video and some of the goings on here, there and everywhere, there's been a lot. Yeah, there's been something that, you know, with the French, with the cathedral, certainly unfortunate, and it's good to see that everybody's rallying together to get it sorted. Yes. So, best of luck to you. Other misfortunes and so on and so forth, so my respects and condolences. Unfortunately, I can't go into the whole depth and detailing of it all because it would just take way too long. But again, based on the last video, break this down into two parts with one final part on the end after the after that, yeah, just on the end. after the credits. That's the one. After the credits. So for those who are a bit more sensitive, that side of things are out of the way. Yeah. But we're going to have a look briefly at the political aspects of things, and we'll go back to acronyms, or rather when we were talking about direction in the last video, and have a look at one final part of it. There we go. So the idea is just to iron out a few facts, so on and so forth, you know. But as it stands at the moment, when looking at the Brexit process, as you'll have seen so far, as with Mr. Trump's bit entry into the political realms, we're talking about false news and the rest of it, as you've begun to realise, it's not only is it across here, or rather should I say, not only is it across in America, it's across here, and it's across in Europe as well as other places, as found within YouTube. And there it is. The media can be somewhat misleading, creates a sense of misdirection, and it can helps breed ideologies such as fear and whatnot, yeah? Or inappropriate ideologies and breed fear. Yeah. A lot of the time, what seems to be a positive to some is actually a false positive to another. Much the same when you're talking about false negatives or negatives positives. Yeah. But a lot of false positives are being used, and then tailored to, which makes them false positives because they're being tailored to be used for something else. Yeah. As with the recent example, as I was saying, across YouTube, when it comes down to polls and their official nature and so on and so forth, then you've got, like say for instance, the Euronews talking about CO2 footprint. What I've placed here is basically the CO2 footprint since 2016 shows that the PM has been busy making the process work and ensuring the UK and its economic infrastructures, trade and etc. actually has a future. So naturally speaking, let's call it transition cost. Yeah. So naturally speaking, it will happen. See, again, false positives. When you look at the nature of something, you become to understand the fundamental elements of it all, what it's doing, why it's doing it. Yeah. And something like that becomes, whilst it's a positive in its appropriate context, it becomes a false positive when that is being only partial facts from that positive is being drawn out and being used for something else. And that is the element that then in turn creates, it becomes misleading or is otherwise misdirection. Yeah. So the media in themselves, yes, as in newspapers, things like that, using titles to draw people in, and then when you actually read the article itself, it really isn't representative. The title isn't representative of what the actual content is. Yeah, it's merely, the content is merely a suggestion of what could happen, whilst the title suggests otherwise. Yeah, that in itself is defined as being misleading. Yeah. So we've got a lot to answer for in that regard. A lot of work that needs to be done is in that regard. Now, looking at the political side of things, taking a step back to the last video, so this is where I was saying before, I said to you before, I hope it's not too convoluted. The convolutions within these, remember, is because if I don't break it down across several different videos, then I end up cramming way too much in one video, and that's where convolutions come from, and it becomes somewhat cryptic. But then sometimes I will make it cryptic, because then the idea is for you to then figure it out for yourself. It's you fill in the blanks. Right? Remember, choice. It's a matter of choice, perspective, helping to develop yourself, right? Rather than having somebody like me or another person telling you what to think or do. Yeah, that's not what this is about. Yeah. So again, harking back to the last video. So when it comes down to this bipartisan kind of approach towards Brexit, when you're looking at the two parties working together, the only red line that should remain permanent is the lead party line at the end of the day. Fair enough, you have the opposing party, place the pressure on, keep things moving. Of course, absolutely. It's all part and parcel of the cycle of motivation, isn't it? Keeping things moving. Having an opposing force. Yeah? Others in this case should be fluent and in line with reasons as to why you're both around the table to begin with, or reasons why they're both around the table to begin with. Right? So you should keep moving with it. Otherwise, yeah, we'll just pull the plaster off. Entering into the European Union elections is a bit of an odd one, really, and I think it should be avoided. And it should, especially with all the commitment to actually moving forward with it. Moving forward with the Brexit. It was decided and that's going to happen, so that should happen, and participating within that is only going to cause for frustrations. Right, now, when we're talking about political spectrum, you'll see models such as these. Yeah. Now, making sense of them sometimes can be quite tricky for some people, placing themselves, but yeah, that is their ideal, yeah, that's the way they look at things. But then it's not always that case. You asked me these questions at this particular time, but if you had come back in a week or two's time, I might have actually answered them differently. Yeah, much like with the polls. Polls are generally kind of like fluid or fluent tests of people's mindset at the time. That's why you can't fix them in stone, because as soon as you fix them in stone, then yeah, they become a permanent and official thing. So the upshot of it all is that people will move from left to right. They will. They'll also shift north and south within the polls as well, or within the questioning or the political spectrum. They will. So what we're looking at then really is the left and the right. Okay? Your left is your socialism, and far left, anarchy. Socialism within itself is equality model. The right, far right, or right in itself, is generally about economics, but it's in itself is a hierarchy model. Right, so as you lean towards the left and you start serving on the left, what you're doing is you're actual working on the equality model, or within the equality model in the realms of socialism. Same with when you lean to the right, you're working in the realms of the hierarchy model, and effectively you work towards predominantly economics. Then there's obviously the far left and then the far right. So the far left, you've got general anarchy. From that, you find people would associate with anarchy various elements of theocracy, communism, Marxism, Leninism. Yeah, the far right being elitism. Yeah. So what you've actually got in its fullest context is meritocracy. Yeah, nationalism, fascism, and Nazism. That type of thing. Yeah. I suppose in some ways what you could say representatively, when you're looking at left socialism or the equality model, what you've got is democracy and liberalism. Yeah. And in opposition on the right side you've got conservatism and republicanism, or republicans. Each of those in themselves have their own kind of like understanding. But for example, of the switch and change, which was said before, it's generally mood based, and sometimes it depends on the facts that are available, and then generally how everything comes across. So effectively, when you're looking at, say for instance, the left, or perhaps on the far left side of things, what you've got is right politics of, say, perhaps the 1922 committee. Yeah? Upper elements, for instance, authoritarianism, which is basically governance, and its furthest and extremes is autocracy. The lower realm, what you're looking at is a laissez-faire, or without governance, and to its far-reaching extent, anarchy. Yeah. So then within itself gives you an idea as to, when you come to better understand the smaller, the finer details of, shall we say, socialism and various other aspects of economics and whatnot, or the equality model and hierarchy models, you come to better understand what it is you're actually supporting, in which direction or another. Yeah. Or if you even just go off on the angles. Now, remember, I'm keeping this short. Now, a lot of people say that they become rigid in their own personal beliefs. They don't marry up with other parties. They don't marry up with policies and so on and so forth. So people end up becoming indifferent or moderates. Whatever. But this is the thing, you see, where we've been talking about working from the centre ground. See, most people will say the centre ground is moderates, is indifference, is rigid, sitting on the fence, or centre of the road. You'll actually find that's more the extreme centre. It is. When you become extreme centre, then the unfortunate thing is, yes, you do become rigid. You can. And then basically you become indifferent. It's like, yeah, whatever. But if you're actual fluid within the centre, so you may stand rigid in the centre on occasions, but moving from left to right, down, will all be dependent upon balance within itself. Hence the reason why you use the term balance and direction. So you've got direction in the last video and balance in this one. And that will only ever come from understanding. And it does. Society and economic drivers. Understanding how democracy works and how to have people, or rather inclusion within that democracy. Yeah? Inclusion and democracy also applies within itself across the economics and social society side of things. But at the same token, it's understanding that there needs to be structure. Hence the reason why you have a political spectrum. Yeah? It's a form of fluid structure. Okay? Also, from the centre, when you become more fluid and you become to understand things better, you understand the reward of effort. Yeah? You understand and can see the foundational fundamental elements of meritocracy, and not on its just full-blown elitistic side of things. Yeah? Equality becomes a lot easier because at the end of the day you know that what you're doing is going to be rewarded. It's not about just doing a job and being recognised and and being overinflated. It's about you being rewarded for what you've done, for what you've achieved. Yeah. Also, on the other side of things, when you talk about laws, you also come to understand that law of man works hand in hand with law of nature. They're not two separate things. To understand the law of nature is to understand the law of man, or to understand man itself. Same with the animal kingdom. To understand the animal kingdom will help you come to better understand even some of our own humanistic behaviours. Yeah? All of which, in turn, then leads towards advancement, because you have come to understand how to move with the times, the flow, move with the current of time. Yeah? Become fluid, much like time, albeit the fact that time being a linear line, as most have come to accept and understand. Everything that surrounds time is very much, fluid. And you move with that, and you can understand and better shape the landscape around you. Yeah. Now, that being said, you get your left, you get your right, so it's kind of like, where do you stand within all of this? Now, a lot of all of this is being about characteristics, it's been about mindset, it's been about coming to understand an end goal. It is. Most people want peace. Most people want to just get along. Yeah? And that's the thing about it all. Is that when you look at this whole political spectrum, the whole economic, society, science, religion, a lot of it is about balance. And this is not just, I'm not trying to pitch centre ground or anything like that. What I'm trying to pitch is an idea as to how things move forward. Yeah? How things will appear to some people but may not appear to others. Yeah? And it's all about learning and being able to pick up on these little things that go on and be able to shape them so it actually works better, not only for your own need but for others. Because whilst you are independent as an individual, you are still also part of a collective. And sometimes you need to be independent to be able to actually see that collective, that group. Yeah? Because sometimes when you work too much of a group, you begin to forget what it is to be independent, and ideas become stagnant, and things then begin to slow down. Yeah? From that, you can have, in this case, political case, in-party fighting. Because at the end of the day, obviously for the different reasons, people are losing direction. They're losing an understanding as to what it is that is going on around them. Too much independence, then of course, it can have an equal effect. It can fracture things way too far. Okay? So it's the balance within all of that. Balance in itself, you'll find that most judges, lawyers, solicitors, they try to work according to that balance. business owners, entrepreneurs, developers. Parenting is a part of it, especially when you have more than one child, but it's still applicable when you have one child, because it's about a balance between what they want and what they need. Yeah? It's about balancing out their expectations and yours, yeah? And so on and so forth. Police, security and armed forces, or I'd like to think that they do, work in such a way whereas it balances out the difference between what is necessary, what is unnecessary. Yeah? How far do you allow something to go before you have to throttle it? Put a throttle on, yeah, or rein it in, so on and so forth. But then when you're looking at it all, it comes in two parts balance. What we're looking at is two categories, is two elements to it all. One, you can look at it as a form of equilibrium, and the other one you can look at it from an entropic side of things, or entropy. And I'm not talking about, each one has two states to them, right? So we'll narrow it down and get rid of state one, because balancing is according to balancing out two opposing or influencing forces, yeah? And entropy is a state of physics measuring or otherwise monitoring the movement or dispersal of energy within moving components. That's why I've chose them two, so let's get that out of the way. We'll remove the physical balance out of the way for equilibrium, and then we'll remove thermodynamics out of the way of entropy. Okay, and we'll look at equilibrium in the context of state of mind, and look at entropy in the terms of predictability and gradual decline into disorder. Yeah? With this not being better at the beginning, in front of left and right? No. Remember, certain convolutions are there for a reason. It's up to you to figure it out. Right? If you think it was better at the beginning, then note down everything that's being said throughout this video and then shuffle it according to how you understand it best. No issue with that. Alright? I've done it in this way because it's all a progressive thing. It is. And it's all leading to one final aspect, which is, like I did with direction, and I put it down here, and I broke it up into an acronym. We'll do the same again with balance. Yeah? There is two states, like I say. Equilibrium, state 2, state of mind. Entropy, state 2, predictability, gradual decline into disorder. Right? So, balance. How can we break that down? Right, now, equilibrium in itself is an actual state of mind, and it does have a positive and a negative to it, but more so not positive negative as in a for or against or a bad or a good. It's more about understanding the grades, yeah, which works in line with entropy. You see, so I left it until now, because this is the part where I'm going to leave you on. Yeah. So, equilibrium. You've got two ways of looking at it. Grades of complexities. You've got basics versus brevity. See, complexities. Awareness, or rather acknowledgement, so working in the same order, acknowledgement versus awareness, which is effectively education in that regard. You've got laws versing or equal to or alongside logical structuring, so you find common grounds. Yeah. Achievement and advancement, so you've got direction, so you can remember that one from the last video. Nationalism and nuances, so you've got diversity. As you become to understand and you become more aware and the detailing of a country or a state, you begin to understand the nuances and that, and in turn helps you to create a sense of diversity. Right, on the basic side of things, you've got communication. But on the brevity, on the complexity side, or the brevity, on the times of brevity, you've also got compromise. It's because you're coming to understand everything that is happening. And then you've got equality and ethics. So this is, in general terms of speaking, is attitude. So you've got a great deal going on there. You have balance, even being, albeit the fact a shorter one to direction, it's never an easy thing to achieve. That's why it takes a lot of effort. That's why, should we say, peace, or the movement towards peace, looking after the planet in a responsible way, and still allowing to be able to be economically productive, socially productive, is never going to be easy. Yeah? The entropy side of things is more when you start looking at again, when you start looking at it in the terms of subjective and objective, the verbal and noun side of it all, looking at the objective sides of it all, balance in itself, you are looking at things like again, gradual decline into disorder, or predictability, more so the predictability side of things. What you've got to help you with balance and to help you with direction, you've got business. You're looking in the realms of architecture and academia administration, yeah, law structures, landscaping, aerospace and armed forces and that, yeah, national infrastructure and the command is construction. You've got engineering, education and environment. Yeah. Those are all entropic states. Those are all states that if you don't maintain in some fashion or another, it will gradually decline to disorder. Yeah, well, and it throws the rest of the balance out. Yeah? Again, within the complexity of it all, within the detailing, light can be found. It can. Right, now, all of that, believe it or not, has taken approximately half an hour to explain. Yeah? Knowing and understanding your own mind is the biggest part of it all. Knowing and understanding and accepting, when you're living in a democracy, that a majority has decided something is what leads towards a peaceful process, a peaceful future, shall we call it. You begin to see direction, or more importantly, you're able to work on direction. You're then able to balance out entropic states. Yeah. All being told, you will create a sense of even equilibrium amongst not only one state, one nation, one continent, but across the entire planet. Yeah. Remember, a lot of it's been, I'll use the word again, convoluted, because at the end of the day, I'm not here to rule. I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's just to give you information, a bit of perspective, and how to move forward. Yeah. Remember, the idea is that you give a man a fish and he can feed himself for a day. You teach a man how to fish and he will feed himself for the rest of his days. Yeah. So the whole idea has been to help you along. Because if I took charge, or lead, or so on and so forth, then I'm not really actually as much contributing, am I? I'm not contributing. What I'm doing is I'm doing the job for you. And that's not what it's about. Right? Doing the job with you is something different. Especially if you're not certain about how to move forward, then that's where the advice comes in. Teaching you a new perspective. Yeah? That will then help you move beyond your current state. Yeah? Like I said, keeping it short, keeping it to the point, learn about your own mind, learn about who you are. In turn, you will learn about others. You will learn the impact that your decisions will make. All of that in itself, and with the lack of balance, will create a direction. Right, well, everything creates a sense of direction, but what direction you go in, whether it be to the left, be to the right, be north, be the south, or be it whatever path you wish to take in your own life, it will all lead to that. So you are responsible at how you move forward. Yeah? Understand that reading things in its fullest form will help you see what people's intentions are. And then you can make your decision according to that information. What's needed and when. Yeah? Right, I hope you've been enjoying the sun. It's been a great bank holiday weekend, or a great few days, depending on where you are and what your faith and belief is. It's been a great weekend, so I hope you're enjoying it. And then hopefully we'll see a good summer as well out of it. Right? Trying to balance everything out, and then effectively, with all your efforts, bring the seasons and the Earth's environment, natural state of the environment, back into sync again. Yeah? It's not going to happen overnight, don't worry. Yeah? But it will happen nonetheless if you keep working at it. Okay. That's it from me. We're done. We're back off! Oh, I'm not joking. Yeah. I hope there's been of some use to it. I will be around. I'm not disappearing off the face of the earth, all shut down, disappeared, gone dark. But no, it's things will take a different form now. Well, things will be shaped in such a way whereas it's more suitable, yeah, more open, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Right. You enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. It's been nice chatting with you all, even in this capacity. And I will see you around. This part is out of the way because I know some people can be quite sensitive to information. It can have an impact on people in different ways. It's a rather subjective element within the whole objective nature of reality. It's the veins that run across the planet, or rather the ley lines, shall we call it. It's the undetected element. It lies within, shall we say, faith. It's our ability to understand more than what we can actually physically see. Cycles of life, even, some will say. Understanding that there is a parallel to the physical realm, and you will know it as the metaphysical realm. It doesn't have to be proven, and in some ways it shouldn't be proven. Just accepted it is what it is. We use the term entropy in terms when you're looking at metaphysics, and it's equal to that in terms of metaphysics. Yeah? And you've got thermodynamics, the creation, and the inability to destroy energy. Energy does dissipate, but it dissipates back so far, and you can increase it, providing you can agitate or otherwise contribute towards it in the right manner. I started this back in 2009 and we're ending it in 2019. I started it with a prayer, an introduction to an understanding of both sides of this argument, I suppose you could call it, or both sides to this world, be it physical or not. Yeah. And how I did it was, as I started off with, Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom has come, and thine shall be done, as thou art no longer in heaven. I have assisted in delivering your daily bread, and shown you the evils. When it comes down to trespass, I've shown you the benefits of borders. I have. It's not an exclusion for others, but an ability to be able to help people move around and move around in the right manner. Yeah? We've also shown you that whilst people will not readily forget, of course they won't, but they will forgive, and forgiveness is praiseworthy. Yeah? It is important to be able to move on, and that is what forgiveness offers people, the ability to move on. And fair enough, there are certain things that are going to happen, which is the other side to trespass. Yeah, but again, in the grand scheme of things, this is what showing you the evils is, and how to create balance and direction within the whole sphere of the understanding. Now the relevance to all of this, or to that opening, is there is a name behind it all. Is who I am. Yeah. In the beginning, one person on behalf of the many called for assistance. Within this 10 years and halfway through, so in the 5th year, only one person has been able to tell me my name to my face. And if he is still watching, then my apologies for shooting you down in the first instance, but as I did say to you, it's not time, not yet. Yeah? But now's the time, and you'll be able to pat yourself on the back. No, seriously. Yeah? And in the end, in the final year, this final year, I've only actually ever told one person about the purpose of these videos. Besides yourselves, on the videos, you've found this of your own volition. For one reason or another, life has led you to this point. Yeah. I was called by one person. One person has identified my name, and one person has only ever been told about this. Yeah. I've kept this quiet, and I've gone along with it all. The upshot of it all is within this journey, even prior to it, I've told a couple of stories of a journey through a maze. Yeah. Giant. Travelled across, assisting many people arrive at a particular point in time. Yeah. And it's a little bit cryptic, I'm not going to go into it, but all of this is tantamount to this at the end of the day. Within that, I've found myself entering into the underworld, found the seal, and opened that seal. I've shown you within that what happens when the hammer drops. If not with my own actions, we've seen it through others. Whilst breaking those seals, you become to identify various things. Like, for instance, the core of it all is independence, knowledge and wisdom. To be able to achieve those, and as well as a derivative of those, you have fortitude, understanding and patience. Yeah? And one final step, attitude, tolerance, and temperance. There are other fluid and other elusive components or characteristics such as integrity, humility and forgiveness. Yeah? Learn a lot of these things throughout. But the seal is more than just a seal, isn't it? A seal in itself means something else. Some could even refer to it as the term as I am. Some would actually say it's individual, awareness and motivated. Yeah? It's about confidence, not chest beating, just confidence in oneself to present oneself as the individual, awareness and motivated. Being independent, as you've seen in other realms. So you've got individual, awareness and motivated. You've also got the other side of it all, as you've seen within, like, for instance, the music industry. Independent, archetypal mindset. Yeah. In other realms of understanding, and the final realms of understanding, is the individual alpha male. Yeah, or independent, whichever way you wish to look at it. That's it. I am. So you got the aspects of confidence within it all. I have. Some people would say that the Great Seal is about the 7 seals and so on and so forth. Yeah. But then it also refers to the name itself. Yeah. The key within it all was effectively breaking another name down into 2 parts. The seal and the home. So the home life. It is the one that represents home or society. It is those who represent people. Yeah. Yeah. I am. As it would say, I am the one, or the beginning. I am the end, like I was saying with Relic, as in the final one. When I says Khalil, it was more about a sense of purpose, a sense of the part of the judgment and leading forward, identifying what's going wrong and why and how, and then offering a resolve. Not me necessarily doing it, that's your job. For me to, like I said in the previous part, for me to do it for you would defeat the object, or defeat the purpose of the exercise. It's about you learning a new perspective. So the beginning and the end. Sometimes when you see the end, you begin to see the beginning. It's not that negative in the terms of a self-consuming cycle. It's more the infinity. When you see the end and you see the beginning, it's also new beginnings. Don't let everybody think otherwise. Yeah? Sometimes it's actually new beginnings, like within the cycle of life, but it just happens within one lifetime. That then forms the bridge. Yeah? So the term being I am, Ham. Enjoy the rest of your day.